Sometimes the things that happen on TV get me. Sometimes the talking heads actually break through my ability to ignore much of the nonsense that is sports television, sports radio. And look, I'm not immune to it. I've certainly said things I think that I look back on. I was like, that was a dumb take. It happens to all of us. But there's a general obtuseness to specifically basketball commentary. But I think a lot of sports commentary in the modern era, and I'm going to call it the post-Michael Jordan era, which coincides with the sports radio era and ultimately the sports television era, the embrace debate era, that is so oversimplified and so just mind-numbingly stupid that it makes watching sports and consuming sports far less enjoyable. And the whole reason we watch this stuff and consume this stuff is because it's fun. It's fun to watch the absolute best at something that we all can do. We can all go play basketball. Many of us have for years, for our entire lives. We love the game. We love the sport. And these athletes go play it at a level that we are just incapable of as regular human beings. And we get to go marvel at that, and we watch them compete. And the fun is the competition, and the fun is even the drama that surrounds it, the soap opera. Dan Le Batard has said for years, all sports is a giant male soap opera. And he's right. He's right. It's not just the winning and the losing. It's the drama and the storylines. It's the heroes. It's the villains. But we have gone so far in a winning an exact certain way is the only right way to do it direction with so much of the commentary that we've completely lost our way. And rarely have I seen it so brilliantly distilled into so much dense stupidity as what I'm about to play for you from Get Up on ESPN this morning. I watch Get Up regularly. I think they do a good job. I think they're good at sparking conversation and being thoughtful. I think Mike Greenberg obviously runs that show, although he was not there today. Does a good job of sparking conversation. He clearly has a lot of respect from a lot of really smart people who are very willing to go on that show, just as he did with Mike and Mike for years. Like he has been facilitating largely good and interesting sports conversation for years, albeit Mike is someone who very clearly understands ratings, and a lot of it has been about the Lakers, the Yankees, Duke basketball, and the other 5 brands that more people in America care about than anybody else. The Cowboys, of course. But rarely do you get such a pristine example of how dumb so much of the conversation around sports is than this. The first voice you'll hear is Zach Lowe. He is probably ESPN, if not the entire sports media's best basketball mind. He is exceptional. He is so good that he is a gigantic basketball nerd who talks about X's and O's and lineups and rotations, has broken through to be a featured part of ESPN's NBA programming, right up there with someone like a Stephen A. Smith, who is yelling about narratives all the time. Not to say Stephen A. doesn't know hoop, but the things they talk about are very, very different, and the way they talk is very, very different. And I think many basketball fans would much rather listen to Zach than Stephen A. I think sports fans at large, maybe a different story, which is why Stephen A. has his platform. That's a different discussion. Point is, Zach Lowe went from someone who was a kind of a blogger type to someone who's on TV almost every day talking about the NBA during the season because he's so good at what he does, and his basketball opinions are so well respected. And yet this is what happened this morning when he tried to actually drop that knowledge on Get Up. I will tell you ahead of time, I'm going to play this 45 seconds uninterrupted. There is a chunk in the middle that I cut out. It doesn't change kind of what happened in the clip. And if you want the longer one, I tweeted it out earlier today at Craig Hoffman. But here's the exchange this morning on Get Up, starting with Zach Lowe. Dan Graziano was the host of the show, and Alan Hahn is the other analyst that you'll hear make just a ridiculous statement.
Every discussion about Anthony Davis and whether he's got the dog in him and whether he wants to ball enough should start. The headline should be, he has been the most dominant defensive player in the entire playoffs. Anthony Davis has never been, to his fault, I guess, a give-me-the-ball, Hakeem Olajuwon post-up player. That's not who he is. Well, and if you want to say you wish you were that kind of player and you wish you could do that every game, that's fair. Just acknowledge that for half the game,
Yeah.
he's the most dominant presence on the floor. Just acknowledge it. It's
All right, how did that
I
dominant presence get a win in the series?
Alan, I want to get.
They're in the conference finals.
Did he
Why
get a
are we
win in the
acting like they
series?
failed?
I want to get Wendy in on
Wendy,
this. I don't want to
please.
ignore Wendy. Bring some rational sense to this conversation.
Bring some rational sense to this conversation? Are you bleeping kidding me? Anthony, I have very rarely on this show wanted to be able to swear and just stick up every middle finger that I can, I guess I only have two of them, at the FCC than right now. Like, just screw off. Bring some rational sense to the conversation. He's literally the most rational person at the network. What are you talking about? Irrational is taking a team that was in 13th place for much of the year, made some incredible deadline moves, had their second best player, who, by the way, is only their second best player because he's damn near 40 years old and you're 20 in the league, got a foot injury that he wasn't even supposed to be able to come back from, that it took the LeBron James of foot doctors to get him ability to play in the playoffs. He missed all that time, and they made the conference finals. And then they lost 3 of 4 single-digit games. The other game they lost was by 11. And they do all of this to the number 1 seed with the guy who's been the MVP the last 2 years, Jamal Murray, who's regained a form that few playoff players have ever had. And they lose in a very competitive series, albeit a sweep. And you have the audacity to look at Zach Lowe, the smartest basketball person at your network, and say, hey, your acknowledgement that Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the playoffs, and it did have a positive impact on the series, get that out of here. Bring some rational thought. Bleep you. What are we doing? How can we possibly be this stupid?
Craig, you are riled.
What are we doing?
I don't think they meant to be so dismissive of Anthony
Then they should do
Davis's
better.
defensive efforts. They might have misspoke. We don't know because it cut out real quick.
No, this is what they do. This is what too many people in this business do. And the problem is, Anthony, it then filters down to fans. And fans think that this is the standard. It's not. It's really, really hard to win an NBA championship. Only one team gets to do it per year. The Lakers, what they did this year, I understand LeBron James. Again, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they are not pundits. I talked about this months ago, right? Punditry versus participation. If you actually have a say in the outcome, you should believe like championship or bust. I get it, because if LeBron James thinks like, oh, it's fine if I get to the conference finals, that's going to affect his performance. But I don't have any say, and neither does anybody that was on that Get Upset in what actually happens in the games. We can be objective. Objectively speaking, the Lakers had an incredible season. Their playoff run, it would be the talk of the league if the Heat weren't doing something somehow more spectacular, somehow more unexpected. Like, the Lakers took out a Grizzlies team that was supposed to be next in line. They took out the defending champion Warriors and did it by imposing their will defensively to the point that Klay Thompson had one of the worst shooting games of his life in a must-win game, in part because his rhythm was so jacked because of how good the Lakers were defensively all series long. And then they go up against the best team probably in the sport this year in the Denver Nuggets, and they push them 4 times in a row. Ultimately, they had opportunities. It's disappointing. I think you can reasonably talk about those things. And by the way, I think there's reasonable criticism of Anthony Davis. He only took, 13 shots last night? 15 shots last night?
15, yep.
Like, I think that if Anthony Davis wants to be best player on a championship team, he's got to go outside of his comfort zone and take 18 to 20 shots a night. But we can say that without being like, it's Anthony Davis's fault. He's not any good. Why do we talk about Anthony Davis as a star? Like, again, what are we doing? And by the way, we can be hard and critical without being hard asses. Like saying Anthony Davis, if he's going to play like this, if he's not going to be more assertive offensively, is not good enough to be the best player on a championship team, is still pretty pointed criticism. Like, I think if I say that, I get my point across better than, he's just not that good. Like, okay. Like, what's actually more damning and accurate? That Bradley Beal is, sorry, Brad, you're going to catch some shrapnel here. That Bradley Beal isn't that good, or that Bradley Beal is only the 40th to 50th best player in the league, and if the Wizards want to be serious championship contenders, he can't be their best player. Like, what I said is more accurate and is pretty freaking damning. Like, it gets the point across. And it leads to a much smarter discussion about the players, whether it's someone like Beal or if we go back to Davis to say, like, hey, man, if you actually want to be the best player on a championship team, you're going to have to do some stuff that you have not done before. You have to prove that this is not the player you are. You have to elevate your game by being more assertive, by taking 20 shots a game. And sometimes that means being less efficient. But, like, you've got to take on that responsibility. That is a smarter, better basketball discussion, a better, smarter sports discussion than this guy's the greatest, this guy sucks, and it's all about wins, rings, and doing it the same exact way that Michael Jordan did. We're just broken when we talk about basketball, and it drives me absolutely insane because I love the sport, and there's so much great strategy and nuance to the game that is very easily discussable. And then you have people on TV, on the most prominent shows, on a partner network of the league, saying that crap. It really bothers me. And, like, I will admit, in part it bothers me because if the way I did it was rewarded more, I'd be making a lot more money. If I just went out, Anthony, and did Hot Take City, I could have a lot bigger contract than I have. I'd have a much bigger platform than I have. And not to complain about the one that I've got, Afternoon Drive in Washington, D.C. is pretty damn good. I am not complaining. I am merely saying that if I wanted to just put away my integrity, throw it out the window, take that journalism degree I got from Syracuse and use it as toilet paper, and just what's the hottest take I could have today, I'd have advanced to the national level. I'd have a national show. Like, we can play that game. But I can't do that. It's not valid. It's not legitimate. It's not smart. It's not serving anybody except for myself. And I just, maybe people come across those takes genuinely. But if that's the case, like if you think it's Anthony Davis's fault that the Lakers didn't win that series or didn't win a game in that series, like your opinion on basketball shouldn't be one that we listen to. And I guess that's my point. Is like, we got to start listening to smarter people. And we can't let the rings and doing it the same exact way that MJ did. If you don't average 30 points a game and, never lose in the finals, then you actually aren't a superstar. Because that's a discussion about Davis. Is he actually a superstar? Hell yeah, he's a superstar. Is he good enough to be the best player on a championship team? I don't know. That's a different discussion. But we can't even have it if you just say, he's not even a superstar. Because then you're not worth talking to. That's it. That's my rant. I think I'm ranted out.
I don't know where to go from there, to be honest. I really don't.
I think we just need to let me catch my breath.
Yes.
Should we do what's trending?
Yeah, because there is a game tonight.
Yeah, all right. Here's what's trending.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.